Hey ChatGPT, I want you to scour the internet looking for periods of relative peace in the West Bank, including pre the First Intifada. And then I want you to analyze what has happened with settlement building when the area is quiet, when the Palestinians are not involved in any attacks against Israelis. What has happened to settlements during those times where Palestinians tried nonviolent resistance?
So, from what I found, there were indeed stretches of relative calm in the West Bank before the First Intifada, which began in 1987. Even during these quieter periods when there were fewer or no significant Palestinian attacks, or when Palestinians engaged in non-violent resistance, the expansion of Israeli settlements often continued. In other words, settlement building didn't necessarily pause or stop just because the situation was peaceful. Settlements generally expanded during times of relative calm as well, indicating that the settlement policy wasn't solely a reaction to violence, but also part of a broader ongoing strategy. If you need more detailed timelines or specific examples, just let me know.
So is it safe to say that even if Hamas did not exist and the Palestinians never picked up a rifle or a rock, that they would continue to lose their homes to Israeli settlers?
In broad terms, yes, that's a reasonable conclusion based on historical patterns. The expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank has generally continued regardless of the level of Palestinian armed resistance or the existence of groups like Hamas. During periods of non-violent resistance or relative calm, settlement activity has still gone on, which suggests that the policy of building settlements isn't simply a reaction to violence, but is part of a longer-term strategy. In other words, even in a hypothetical scenario where there was no violent resistance at all, settlement expansion likely would have continued, and Palestinians would still have faced the loss of land and homes to settlements.
As you can see, even AI can tell that the Israelis were never interested in peace. They were interested in land. They would continue to steal land no matter what the Palestinians do, so all this talk about Palestinian terrorism is just an excuse. The Zionists want the land, and that much is obvious, even to AI. So when Israelis talk about peace, they talk about supremacy, they talk about the Palestinians submitting and giving up their rights, giving up their land, giving up their livelihood. That is the kind of peace the Israelis want. That is the kind of peace the Zionists want. And that is not peace. That is slavery.